Croeso, welcome. This is the Chalk of Voa. This week, just a couple of Welshies, chill talking about the things that we love in pop culture, comic books, gaming, and beyond. We're going to get into a bit of everything this week. So my name's Neon Tinted Tom, and I've got PC Vita, Mr. Fish. How we doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Well, you know, a new week upon us. I've had a glorious, dramatic weekend of Premier League football, and I'm energized. And I want to talk about geek stuff.
It's been a hell of a football weekend.
But other than that, how are you? How's things going?
Good, man. Yeah, another week of living like this, I suppose, in the world that's going on.
It's mad, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And then locally now, we're going to have announcements now tomorrow, aren't we?
To
see what happens. So it's just become the norm, which is just it's not nice to think of, really, that it has now become the norm.
That's it, isn't it? It's slowly but surely becoming a Black Mirror episode.
I know, yeah.
Do you know, I was watching some of that the other day, man. Like some of them episodes, they're great stuff. Like shocking, but like they're written so well. Because
the minds that they come out of again.
You're like, I love this start. It's like the old-timey sort of Star Trek vibe episode, you know, when he's inside the video game one?
Yes, yeah.
So good, because I did not know where that was going. Did not know.
We watched Inferno last night, Dan Brown adaptation.
Right, I got you. Yeah.
And obviously that's about, like, you know, a virus and overpopulation. So yeah, hit home last night. Me and the wife watching that.
I've still not got around to watching Contagion, because that was like booming up in the streaming stuff when everything started. First of all, wasn't it? You know, it's crazy times. But before we get on, we're one man down. We've lost our little X-wing pilot. Where's Chad?
He's missing in action, isn't he?
He is. That whole taking him from behind from the little episode we recorded, it's clearly got him into some trouble.
He's having a lovely weekend with his other half, I believe. A Disney-themed weekend.
Oh, nice. Oh, good stuff.
Hopefully he brings some pictures or something he's doing.
Well, yeah, like some staycation snaps. Anyways, so let's get on to the comics. As usual, we got our 5 sections of chalking. We got the comics, we got the hot topics, we got the auditorium, we got the let's play, and then we got Kryptonite Delights. And Kryptonite Delights tonight, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a divisive little section, I believe, because of what it is. But I'll leave you with that a little bit. Teaser. Exactly. So let's talk comics. Obviously, there's a couple of things going on at the moment, but we've sort of cherry-picked a few things that we've been reading recently. So first of all, I'm going to hand it over to Rob, but I'm going to do my usual little thing and introduce it. So let's go. Rorschach #1. We did speak about it in the DC Fandom coverage, I believe.
Yes.
When it was previewed, and this is the from the Black Label series, and so we got the writer is Tom King, we got the artist, which is Jorge Fornes. I think I probably butchered that, but we had a little chat before. Rob, how would you say it?
That sounds nice.
Yeah,
I think.
Don't ask me to say it again. And then we've got the colorist, which is Dave Stewart, and then the cover we have Jorge Fornes again. So, Rob, you've had a proper read through this. Give us a little. So give us a little synopsis. What's been happening?
So first off, it's a 12-issue run, which I'll ask you a couple of questions how you feel about those sort of things once I've told you about it. But yeah, it starts off with straight into it. Really, you have a Rorschach character being shot.
I saw
left,
that,
right, and center.
Oh, it was a glorious panel
in the head, and then. Head, chest, everything, and everywhere. And then another scene then when it's him and a woman who's dressed as like a cowboy, both being shot on sort of the rafters above a presidential rally. Yeah. So they were there to try and assassinate, basically, the president candidate. So where they kicked off then is that this detective takes over the investigation and goes and sees the bodies and all that sort of stuff. And it's like a murder mystery, but it's not. It's the case of the mystery is identify the woman as her name is Laura Cummins.
Right.
But for the man, they've got no prints.
Ooh.
No prints on record. The man's roughly about 80 and he's in good shape or decent shape. So there's a lot of back and forth where they can get some certain information from. But the twist is that he's either one of two people.
Oh.
And it could be someone called, which I'm going to have to look at my notes for this one, William Mayerson.
Okay.
Who's like an artist, or Walter Kovacs, because the fingerprints match on both of those.
Oh, right.
So has he, because this is set now, so has it been this 35 years since Dr. Manhattan killed him? Is he back or is he not?
Well, that's it. So I was going to ask you, right? So I saw a couple of little bits. Obviously, the show has become so popular, and that obviously it's after the events of the book, but it's almost like a multiverse telling of a what if something happened, what if this happened in that timeline and this carried on. So with this, is that following in its own timeline then, this Rorschach?
You wonder, because you wonder if it could also jump on the back of obviously the whole Doomsday Clock thing, and having that little twisted effect on what's actually happened in the original comic. It could be. You could take it, because I think you could easily pick this up and not have any history with any of the comics. To be honest, you could literally just pick it up as a one-off, and you think, oh, I'm interested in what that character looks like. Well, that's
the purpose of the Black Label series, really, though, as well, isn't it? You kind of get a all-in-one mature kind of artist's representation.
17 plus, which is a bit of a weird one to see, but 17 plus.
Yeah, that is a bit strange.
I think you usually see like 16 plus, I think, sometimes on books, especially manga, I think. Then it's 18 and above, really. But 17 plus. Yeah, I mean, quickly about the 12 issues. I don't know what your experiences are of 12 issues, but, it's a commitment.
It is, yeah.
And you wonder if these things are sometimes written, I'm not jumping to conclusion, but written to maybe go nicely together as a graphic novel at the end of it, instead of having those sort of...
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, is obviously, we've touched on it before. My reading began prior to meeting yourself in the graphic novel only form. So I'm very much used to consuming these stories in their collected edition form. Now, by the sounds of what you're saying, yes, it does seem as if, especially with the art style that they've gone for and the whole direction of the Black Label and some of the things that we've spoken about in the past with regards of DC Comics' change of direction in their business model going forward and going more towards the collected editions in the graphic novel form. So if the story is worthwhile and it requires 12 issues and it needs it, then yeah, totally. That's what it all should be. And from what I've seen, there's some good stuff happening there, and it, deserves some time to stew and develop over those 12 issues. Because do you know how many pages are within each issue so far, or in this first one?
That's a good question, mate. I want to say probably a little bit over the normal, because it's an average comics is 22 pages.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a leap and say it's between 30 and 35, because I think a lot of the Black Label around that, they're a bit more thicker, aren't they? More sort of prestige format.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
The Jorge Fornes is just hitting the mark though on the artwork. It's just it suits it definitely suits it. I mean, I would say that the style of writing seems a little bit different than Tom King's usual, but it's not. I'm not saying that as a negative. It just doesn't necessarily feel like one of his books, which is also a good thing, because you're getting something new and different.
Yeah.
But it's going to be an interesting one. Like whether this is going to be a changer for the Watchmen universe, but I got a feeling they're just going to be doing their own thing, really. And you either take it or you leave it. Really, you can either think it's affecting the past or not, really.
Yeah, because looking at this now, I'm just to like get our facts 100% correct. It said that this first issue is 32 pages long. So if you went with that 12 issues long, you go in 12 issues, 32 pages each, 384 pages for a collected edition. That's a monster, isn't it?
It's a nice little book.
That's going to be a chunky book on your bookshelf, especially with that art direction as well. Yeah, that's going to look nice on your grown-up bookshelf.
Nice idea, like oversized print of it as well. Be nice.
Yeah, well, obviously the Batman Damned, like I've got the like slightly oversized version. Obviously, is how it's been printed as a trade paperback.
Yeah,
so glorious, such good stuff.
I've got a few in my collection of the oversized ins, and they're just amazing. Just to see them in that sort of size.
Yeah, it's what it's about, and I know like, the direction of the industry is going that they're trying to go away with so many different properties being on the physical format, but there's certain titles really deserve to be on physical format, and it seems this Black Label does seem as if it's got that little aura, sophistication to it that it deserves to be in print form. You know, not that it's any more deserving than any others. Obviously, everything's amazing, right? And we're
not making that effort, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, but
to push that.
Every panel is like an actual piece of art you could put up on a wall. You know, like it's glorious stuff. You know.
And I will say, quickly about the. I mean, I think I've seen a couple of people saying the same thing, but I think it doesn't necessarily feel like a Watchmen comic, which is nice. And, you know, people relate into the panels. So that you haven't got your 9 panels, you know, your sort of intense, you know, Dave Gibbons sort of artwork. You've got some just nice flowing pages, of just beautiful artwork. So
is this something you're looking at continuing in with? You know, it seems as if you are continuing with it.
Yeah, definitely. I know I'm probably trying to get advice from you really with the 12 issue thing, but I'll stick with it for now. Yeah. Because why not really? I don't necessarily buy a lot these days, and I try and wait until like the graphic novel, but I think I'll add it and keep it going and see how it goes.
Oh, definitely, dude. Like I'm going to get on it actually after all this, you know, because I did have a quick squint through. And there's some really nice artwork on there, and it looks great, absolutely great stuff. So, moving on to the next comic and our final comic in the comic section, I wanted to cover something that's a little bit close to my heart, I guess, because I had a bit of I feel attached to the project in some ways. So I'm going to talk about something. It's a little bit left field from something, I guess, that we're usually talking about. And this is from IDW. And this is Jim Cornette presents Behind the Curtain, Real Pro Wrestling Stories. Okay. Now, the writer, first of all, we have Brandon Easton. We have the artist, which is Dennis Mendry. We have the color, which is Jordi Escuin. Jordi Escuin. I'll get that right one day. And we've got Dennis Mendry on the cover again. Now, first of all, it's a wrestling comic book, okay? We're going to go there, all right? Now, Rob, when I said I wanted to cover this, how did you feel, first of all? Were you a bit like, well, why are we covering wrestling? What's going on?
No.
He's slipping it in now and again.
It was less research for me, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true, actually, yeah. For once, I'm doing some work when it comes to the comics, yeah?
But it's nice to have a delve into something different. I wouldn't have. I mean, I've had a look over some of the stuff from it.
Yeah.
It looks nice, man. And nice to see some of those original sort of what really went on.
Yeah, totally. So just to give you a bit of backstory, right? This comic book started off as a Kickstarter. And I'm a sucker for Kickstarter. I have backed so many things on Kickstarter, not recently because of everything going on, but in the past, you know, there has been a considerable amount of money gone on there. And this is one of the things that I backed. Now, Jim Cornette is a man that wears many different suits within the wrestling industry, or the history of the industry, should I say. Now, most people, and I asked you this off air, Rob, like if you knew who Jim Cornette was. Now, most people would know him as an on-screen manager, mostly during the WWE, WCW era, at least over here in the UK. Manager of such American stars, or the American Wrestling Stars company, Yokozuna, Vader, Owen Hart, the British Bulldog. So Jim Cornette, on-screen presence, very prominent, right? He was a manager. He had the gift of the gab. If you wanted someone to be hated, Jim Cornette was the man to go out there and piss off the crowd. That is what he did. Absolutely brilliant stuff. But behind the scenes, the man was very, very multi-skilled and very, very influential within the 80s and 90s in terms of the behind the scenes. Most notably, he was in the creative teams in the Monday Night Wars era, and WCW, WWE, TNA. He's worked in all those companies. And most importantly, I guess, for me, is he's a podcaster and he's a storyteller. And this is where the idea of this podcast came from, was that someone came to him and was like, Jim, you've got so many stories to tell about the wrestling industry, the behind the scenes. He educates people. He doesn't like it, but he's grown towards educating the behind the scenes lingo and all that kind of stuff. And the book does cover some of that. I think you saw as well in what I showed you. So ultimately, you started on Kickstarter, right? And it needed $25,000 to get the green light. And basically in the first 2 days, it raised that and ultimately raised $69,000, reached all its stretch goals, which ultimately gave it the 80-page size that we now have, which is really, really cool because the extra pages, they managed to get some extra little bits in there, and some really cool stuff. But for me personally, there was some extra tiers as with Kickstarter. And I went for the lithograph and signed copy of the book, which also got you a digital copy. But the lithograph portrayed me in wrestling form, managed by Jim Cornette, and in the art style of the book. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this, because a lot of people have got a lot of things to say about Jim Cornette, and I don't agree with everything he says. He's a very strong personality. A lot of his podcasts he does play up to the I guess to the audience. He likes to get a raise. He knows what sells. It does what it does.
It was his job, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's brought into his podcasting. But I think one thing that you need, maybe to get a full appreciation of this, is to know the voice of the man and to know what his storytelling form is like, because if you listen to his podcast, Jim Cornette Experience, absolutely great stuff in terms of tales of the olden days and going long form about old school things. Like, it's not all PC, don't get me wrong, but look, it was the 80s, 70s, 90s of the wrestling industry. They seen some right, so and they're going to talk about it. Yeah, exactly. But I was going to say to you, interesting with Jim Cornette, before I really start talking about the comic book, he was the co-owner and runner of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, sorry, should I say, in the 90s. And one of the financial backers in that was Rick Rubin, the producer.
Right, okay.
So, and I never knew up until sort of listening to the podcast that Rick Rubin was like a big wrestling fan. And then you kind of notice him then in later years. WWE have started really sort of, when he's in the crowd in a WWE event, they sort of go up to him and he's very recognizable once you know what they're doing, But just to give context to Jim Cornette, he was also head of developmental in OVW, which is Ohio Valley Wrestling, which was like the WWE's training school before they now developed the NXT. So
you sort of feed in through people through easy to the main stage.
So some of the people that he helped sort of basically nurture at a developmental stage were people like John Cena, Dave Bautista, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, these types of people. their wrestling sort of IQ in the beginning came from this man and the people around him at this time. So, his pedigree is there. So I know I've gone long form there, but I need to do that to give kind of context with the way that this book is delivered, because it's like an anthology style storytelling, isn't it? When you think about it, it's like 3 different sections, 3 different tales of the old school wrestling ways. And that's what the key is as well. It's focused on the old school stuff, Yeah. So your Ric Flair, Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman, The Sheik, the Fabulous Freebirds, Midnight Express, Bret Hart, and Shawn Michaels. These are the types of people that show up in this comic book, So it's basically stories that Jim Cornette has, retold, but they've been adapted by the creative team. And the creative team themselves are the team that were behind the Andre the Giant comic book, Closer to Heaven. So, they've got a little bit of history with the wrestling community and doing that on comic book sort of form. So you as an outsider reading this, how did you feel? Because there's a lot of technical lingo, insider term in there. Me as a wrestling fan growing up and now later in life, listening to these podcasts that go behind the scenes of all these wonderful things that I enjoyed as a kid. It's like, I get it because I've properly gone 2-footed into it. I'm arguably as passionate about comic books as I am about wrestling. They kind of tug of war on each other. So how did you feel like reading this?
I think it's interesting because I used to watch wrestling. I think up to the point of you'd have to tell me now. Is it Attitude Era? Is it when was it when sort of Austin and Undertaker?
Yeah, so the Attitude Era. Yeah.
Up to that point, I remember watching it.
So when it was a little bit raunchy and it's the type of stuff when, for me personally, when my mother came in and the women's wrestling was on in the 90s, I was like,
nothing's happening. Yeah,
it's wrestling, I swear.
Yeah, going up to that point really, and I enjoyed it. It was like it was an athletic soap opera.
Yeah.
And one week you were loving someone, the next you were hating them.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was nice to see some of these little stories, because the Andre the Giant comic I've never read, but I have seen a couple of little documentaries about him, and obviously about his drinking habits.
Oh, the man could sink a pint.
Oh, I know. There's like 50 odd cans or something like that. Some of the stories.
Yeah, it's legendary.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, I saw obviously the Sheik story in there, and then him and how I think he like the story where he just broke character once.
Yeah.
On this one guy, and then that was it really. And I think just like these guys' commitment. But I think back then as well, though, it must have been a different world.
Well, that's it. So obviously, a lot of these, all of these stories are from an era where, wait a minute, there was no internet. Okay. So keeping the spirit and the secrets of pro wrestling was a lot easier. Now, pro wrestling, I know it's hard to believe, because I guess for us, we got into it in its peak, arguable peak, should I say, in the UK, when the curtain was starting to come open a little bit, but it's hard to believe that wrestlers back in the day, before everyone knew that it was predetermined, scripted, however you want to put it, they used to keep their character, because the more the people either loved them or hated them, and when they saw them out on the streets and all this kind of stuff, they truly believed. And because of this, that's the more money they can make, ultimately, and that's not the real reason. It was more, it's like method acting, basically. We watch all these films where, you hear of Christian Bale doing obscene things to his body and keeping in character the whole time. And when Jared Leto was playing the Joker, he was in character and dropping mice in people's food and all this kind of stuff, all these crazy stories. So wrestlers used to do this as part of their real life.
Did you say they had more freedom?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Because in and out of the ring. back then? Or
Well, yeah. Well, again, though, it was a different time. So I remember stories of my mother telling me about my grandmother and grandfather going to the local village hall to watch the local Welsh wrestling, and these were like the Welsh wrestlers. So El Bandito, and we used to watch this Welsh language wrestling program back in the 90s called Wrestler, right? And great stuff, because when you actually look back, and I've gone back and watched now as an adult, you see some of the UK wrestlers before they were famous coming through the ranks. So that's quite cool, because they're like, in a village hall, wrestling some 50-year-old North Walian bloke that's got a whatever style gimmick, as they say in the wrestling industry, which is obviously their character, their whole persona. So, like, I remember hearing stories of them going to the wrestling and my grandmother getting so wound up that the bad guy was cheated in the ring and he'd poke the bloke in the eye, and she'd get her handbag out and she'd be hitting him when he came close and all that kind of stuff. It used to happen because people thought that this was all legit. And like me personally, yeah, that was me up until a point. I remember the innocence of being a child, and like every single thing in the ring, I felt everything, when I was in love with, The Rock in his peak. And I remember watching Judgment Day 2000 in the Iron Man match between him and Triple H. And, it was 1-1, and there was all sorts of shenanigans happening when DX came, and The Undertaker came back on his motorcycle and he was there, and then all hell broke loose. I remember that, and it took me there. And it's nice to kind of read these types of books that pay tribute to some of these stories from the past, where they did give their flesh, bone, sweat, tears, everything to the art of entertainment, which was professional wrestling, not sports entertainment as we now know it, So yeah, it's cool, man. And I gotta say as well, not to blow my own trumpet, but the caricature they've done for the lithograph for this, I think is actually really quite good.
I said to you today, mate. It's spot on.
I dread to think. So I had to send like an email with like a reference photo, right? And a couple of pictures I sent, I dread to think what the artist must have thought, because I gave like, typical me fashion, just a little description, or like, I kind of think like it should look a little bit like this, and if you can, like, get a little bit of the tattoo in just in case of it. Like, and he must have thought, oh mate, you're paying, like, you wouldn't get it.
Dude, I got another 100 to do this week.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, in fairness though, it was there wasn't many people in my bracket, because I did pay a little bit extra to get what I ended up getting, but it's worth every penny, man. It's a one-off special, and I love those types of things. I need to get a frame, to be honest. But yeah, if you're into wrestling, you want something a bit different. Yeah, Jim Cornette presents Behind the Curtain, Real Pro Wrestling Stories from IDW. It's available actually in physical copy now, because they got popular after their Kickstarter run. So nice. They couldn't not print it, basically. Sorry about the long form there, Rob, but you got me to it's nice to get passionate, Yeah, exactly. So let's get on to the hot topics, all right? Because this is a comic based podcast. So this first bit, I'm very glad in some ways that Chad is not here to talk about this first hot topic. And that is, oh man, he would just go whiffed, wouldn't he? Like, just. So what we're going to talk about first, hot topics. This is where we just discuss some of the news, some of the little bits. It's a short one this week, but we're going to start off DC's Future State event. So Rob, like, I think it looks really, really cool what's happening. What do you think? Now, we're going to go long form in another episode, I will say that, but what's going on your end? First thoughts.
It's just a lot. I suppose is my thing. The only, without going too much about it, 'cause we said we'll have a proper, separate chat for this.
Yeah.
They're doing it. I think it's next March. I think it's coming out March and April, and it's coming off the back end of Death Metal 6, which it's supposed to be February.
Oh, I love that comic book line.
They're saying that that's going to bring new life to the multiverse. So here we go.
Oh, a new level of rage for Chad.
So here we go. So there's quite a few titles which we will run through in the next one. But yeah, I mean, we had a chat about it. The covers, I think we saw about 25 of them on DC's side, 25, 26. They all look lovely. But
they do.
It's going to be a mad one.
They
think.
do look banging. I got to say, those covers, and I will say the redesigns for some of the characters, so good. So good. But we are going to go long form in that. But like you say, you were not complaining. You were bringing up the 12-issue situation. I don't know if you need to read, because I remember coming to you, right, back in the day, right? We're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but it's relevant, right? But do you remember the little events like Convergence and then Future's End, back in the day with the new 52 line?
Yeah.
And then there was Earth 2 Society, and then there were all these different ones, and they all I'm trying to think which the main one was, which had a load of like tie-ins.
Convergence was definitely one.
That was one which had a load.
How many different issues? Like a lot of them had double issues, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Oh, so many. Because when I saw this Future State event, I was like, oh, this is Convergence all over again. Like, in a good way, because I really enjoyed that event, to be honest. Like, it was a bit mind-blowing for me, because it was my first real, like, proper everything getting mental and crazy and interlinking and all that kind of stuff. So, and I know there's arguably better stories or more seminal works out there with that concept. But
yeah, well, I think the more of those come out, the more of them mean less.
Yeah.
But I suppose I think whether you're going to ask, you don't need to, most of them you don't even need to read half of the stuff that comes out with it. Or more than half of the stuff that comes out with them. It is purely for people to collect, really, and and do that sort of thing.
Well,
surely.
People will though, because like I used to, like I got all them bloody side issues and everything. I remember the movie tie-in covers. Remember them variants?
They were nice.
They were wicked, and I think I got every single one, right? And there was the 3D issues as well, the 3D cover ones. Remember them?
Yeah, the lenticular ones. Yeah,
in the new 52, they were really cool. And
they did some good ones at DC around that time, because they did the Darwin Cook ones, which were lovely. They did Looney Tune ones.
I got a few of them. So many good little bits. But yeah, Future State. There's some really. I'm looking forward to going long form with you, because I've already noticed a couple of people have done some long form stuff. There's some really good things out there. But I want to do it with you just so we can have, our own opinions and get our own little thoughts on it. Grace Randolph, beyond the trailer, she did a really good breakdown of it. Very, very good. And I love her delivery as well. She's quite sassy with some of the with some of the reviews of the redesigns, etc. But it's entertaining stuff. So yeah, we're gonna go long form on that another day. Spider-Man 3. It's been fast tracked, and it's almost upon us, which is as in the filming is almost upon us, starting filming, which seems crazy.
Yeah,
and
it's just I think it has started, isn't it? Did they officially? I think they said.
Yeah, I believe it started. I believe there's I believe so. But
it's out same time next year.
That turnaround is madness. Like. I do not want to be in the editing room for the poor people that are going to be putting that together, because they are under some real strict time constraints, But we're rumored to have, because this seems, and I don't want to get like comic political on us and all that, especially without Chad here to balance things out, because I know he'd love to have a good say about this. This feels like it's Marvel's answer to the Flash movie, basically, with the multiverse concept. So it seems as if all things are pointing towards our three different iterations of Spider-Man over the last, 15 years? Longer than that?
Probably early 2001 or 2001.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's probably almost 20 years now. That's probably crazy. But yeah, like the three Spider-Men on screen, I'll be honest, I'll dig that. Like,
yeah.
You know, especially with the Jamie Foxx stuff as well. That seems as if that leaked a little bit early because they were always going to say that he's coming back. But from what I can gather with people online, that was their kind of backup, kind of prop up. Oh, look how much more they're going to be doing once they had everything finalized for the three others. Because knowing that Jamie Foxx's Electro is coming back obviously brings everyone to the attention of, well, that must mean everything else is coming back, you know? So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I think the biggest, I mean, yes, it'd be great to see those three Spider-Mans together. I think the interesting thing is the fact that they've started filming and they're gonna try and get it all done and out for next October. Because that seems mad.
That's amazing if they do mind. Like, I will applaud them from the highest mounts. Like, if they manage to get this done,
because it's already pushed back anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know, at this rate, it seems as if, and I'm being, you know, I'm cracking a cheap joke here, I guess, but, you know, it's going to be out before Wonder Woman 1984, like with the way the things are going at the moment. Like,
but if they do release it in October, it'll be a whole year before the Flash movie. I think the Flash movie is October 2022.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, 2022. Yeah.
The thing is, though, I feel as if I'd prefer them to take their time with that. And I'm sure you agree as being a massive Flash fan, because I feel as if they've got the opportunity to make it a little bit more complex. So if you're doing that, I prefer them to take their time with it and make sure that it's fully fleshed out rather than having to, you know.
I think they've got the chance now, especially with the whole HBO situation going on. They can sort of maybe just take a little time and go, right, we got this. You know, let's get it done properly.
Well, I think the good thing is with DC, right, is they've got Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out next year, or Snyder Cut, or Justice League Zack Snyder Director Cut, however you want to put it. Now, from what I can see, I think there's going to be multiverse stuff at least being slightly explored in that, or the little nuggets of it are going to be explored enough that people are going to be already a little bit conditioned to how DC are going to be doing it, you know? So I'm hoping that doesn't kind of give us a similar kind of scenario. And I hate to put them against each other all the time, but ultimately it's relevant to talk about. But when they fast-tracked Civil War to happen, when Batman v Superman was coming out, and they made sure that they got it out just before, and then everyone was going like, oh, but that's the same film, but it's not as happy and jokey and blah, 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 and like, oh, what the hell? Like, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully people will just be able to watch them as separate entities and not compare them so much, because I think they're going to be still, there's a crossover of audiences, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Crazy.
I'm looking forward to it because, like, you know, at the end of the day, I might be DC card carrying, but I grew up on the Amazing Spider-Man cartoons. So, like, I loved those cartoons and the 90s X-Men cartoons. So when it comes to the films, you know, I do enjoy them. I just don't enjoy all of the direction that they go in because, you know, it does seem there's a lot of levity when I feel it shouldn't be sometimes. But again,
I think that's all they are. Good fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I know you agree as well. The Andrew Garfield ones are like spot on that sort of tone, aren't they?
Totally, man. Like we've said it before. Like, obviously, I grew up at a peak time when I was arguably the target audience for the first original run of Tobey Maguire, right? So I remember being so hyped for Spider-Man 3, and I was like, oh my God, they're doing Venom. Oh my God, like they're doing Green Goblin and Sandman. They're gonna be together. And like, but when did that come out? I'm trying to think now. Was it 2003, 2004, something like that? Like,
check as you're talking now, but yeah, a little bit later.
I'm ultimately early teens, very impressionable, and I think that was my first kind of feeling of cinema, just the sinking cinema feeling afterwards, where this did not live up to my hype. And again, it's not a terrible film, but it's very
2007.
easy. 2007, was it that much? How old would I have been then? Oh, this is going to be really embarrassing. Oh,
You're
my
working
word.
out. Well, I was 20. What was I? 23.
Oh, that should have been much better for that age.
Yeah, I think, dude, that film.
It was too much in it.
You know me, I never dislike anything really. I hate to say that.
I don't like hating anything.
It's just, I still think they tried. I really do.
The Sandman stuff is great. That whole story was brilliant.
But I like the videos now they show of it. I know we're going a bit off the old hot topic now.
That's all cool, man.
You see videos online, you see people doing that and how brutal like Spider-Man was towards him and basically created him. It's just like, yeah, I get it. I get why he was so angry.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like you said, like if they had, leading up to that whole Sinister Six thing, would have been that scenario would have been fantastic. But I get that things like that are hard to do and work to, and try and have all those, because obviously they've mentioned, there's been another rumor of obviously having Tom Hardy's Venom appear in some form.
Like,
I enjoyed that.
I really enjoyed it. Like, I almost felt as if they should have just let it be a little bit more unhinged, to be honest.
I really liked his the conversations with the symbiote.
Yeah, and it's a shame they didn't do more of that, but I can see why there wasn't too much of it, because it would have been, it might become a little stale, like, after too much of it. But I think it's going to be explored more in that second one. They know what's going to work, So they know what worked in the first one, and just turn everything else up to 11, isn't it then? So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really intrigued to see where they go with it. With Doctor Strange obviously coming in as well with Spider-Man 3, it's opening up some interesting creative opportunities for them.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
good on them if they get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
They will, mate. Think what they've got behind them.
Yeah, they will. So last hot topic, right? This is kind of a bit left field, but I feel it's pretty cool anyway, and it's relevant to what we kind of cover. So first of all, what's your experience with theme parks, Rob?
Not a lot. I say not a lot. I've been to a few. Back in the day, we took a trip to I don't know when it was, in the 90s sometime, in Paris. Disneyland. So I went there, and I think Alton Towers, and that's it for me, really.
Okay.
As theme parks goes, I've been to a couple of things. Like I've been to the studios, Harry Potter studios.
I've never been there.
I've been there a couple of times.
What's it like as a fan? Because you're a fan,
nice.
Yeah, like the family with you and everything.
It's amazing. The kids haven't been with us. This is just me and Amy.
Oh, right, okay, cool.
This is a few years ago, and then we went again when they added new things. They added the Hogwarts Express and all that sort of stuff. Dude, it's amazing experience. I think if you think of anything you're passionate about, especially films or TV, and you actually go there where the sets are, and it's just an amazing experience. I mean, I will tell you, this is a spoiler for anyone who's planning on going. Don't listen. So you queue up and you go into this first room, then they just start chatting to you and doing little quizzes and then you go into this cinema room.
Okay.
And you sit there and you watch a little sort of video of the history of the when the book came out and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then the cinema screen goes up, and then there's the doors of the Great Hall.
Oh, wicked.
And it just swings open, and there's just a Great Hall, and that's how it starts. It's
really?
Just amazing.
That's a really magical way of doing it. That's a good way of starting, actually.
And just amazing. Such an experience. And like our oldest now is obviously started reading the books. So he said we will take them as soon as everything calms down a bit.
Yeah, no. Oh wow. Like I'd like to go, but like I'm not a huge lover of them. I appreciated them. I read them as a kid, but when everything kind of like hit a proper high for them, I kind of went in the direction of like, spandex and capes rather than, wands and capes. So what I was actually talking about, I guess, what I was kind of like in a roundabout way is over the whole lockdown stuff, I've been going mad for like theme parks, right? Just having a look online. There's loads of really cool stuff online on YouTube and such in terms of showing you the behind the scenes of certain theme park rides, certain theme parks, and just giving you like mini documentaries and stuff like that. And I noticed that Universal Studios have started building their Super Nintendo worlds right now. For me, I just think that is, why is it only now it's happening? Because that seems to write itself. Like, first of all, a theme park area all themed around Super Mario and associated Nintendo characters as they're going to expand. Because it's not just, the Super Mario characters they're doing. There's going to be like Donkey Kong lands and stuff like that. Because we were having a chat of the Mario Kart versus Diddy Kong Racing debate, weren't we? Yeah. And we were saying that Diddy Kong is it is Diddy Kong it's called, isn't it? Yeah.
Diddy Kong Racing,
yeah. That is a better game. But going back on topic, like, so they're building a Super Nintendo world in Japan, right? In their Universal Studios Japan. Now, they've just kind of done a preview sneak peek by opening up the cafe and store for there. I would love to go to something like this because, like, I've been longing to go to the Warner Brothers world, and I need to send you some of that because unless you've already seen some of it.
No, I haven't.
So imagine what you see in like Disney and all that kind of park element. Everything's themed and everything. You go in there and you feel as if you're in that area, all that kind of stuff. But it's, all the Warner Brothers stuff. So you've got your Gotham, like DC area, and you've got like, all these crazy rides and things like that. Like I'd love to go, but more specifically, Nintendo World, it sells itself, doesn't it?
Dude, it looks like I didn't know about it, like until you said, and then I had to look, and all I could find first of all was just like I think their launch trailer, which is whenever it was, and it was just sort of CGI. And then I saw pictures of them actually building it. It's just it's just amazing.
It's crazy.
It doesn't look real.
No, I know, because that's what I thought when I first saw stuff. I was like, that's mental what's going on, seeing it. It's just, it's so true to life. Like, if you thought of a Super Nintendo world, you go, oh my gosh, they're building it. And some of them rumored rides. I don't know how they're going to do it, but there is a Mario Kart ride that they're going to be doing.
Do you reckon they'll have like the sprints and stuff, like bounce, so you can bounce up onto different levels?
Well, this is the thing. So from what I've seen, rumored ideas and sort of concept art and things like that, it's going to be like a dual car sort of system where ultimately you're going to be racing against another set of drivers, I guess, so in your carriages, and there's going to be ways to gain power-ups and stuff, which from what I've read or heard, I may have misinterpreted, that's going to like slightly change your ride experience. Right. So, but it's ultimately going to be based around a race. So I'm trying to think of a more kind of similar type of, I guess, like similar to kind of maybe Test Track in Epcot in America, in the Disney's, but with an added element of like the Men in Black shoot 'em up kind of rides with that type of stuff, I think,
Right, okay.
So I could be completely wrong, but like that's what I've seen as my interpretation of what they're trying to do. But again, the technology behind this stuff, man, the amount of money that goes into this, you just don't appreciate it. And that's why when I've been watching these documentaries, they're just so fascinating. So cool.
I'd love to go. I mean, I've always wanted to go to Japan anyway.
Me too.
When are they supposed to finish it?
So obviously there's major delays with everything that's going on. I believe that they're wanting to, because of the high commerciality, the high commercial aspect of opening up a Nintendo world, Super Nintendo world, and the sort of franchise qualities that come with that. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of incoming traffic that are going to want to come to this. With the way that the industry is at the moment, theme parks, I from what I can see, are struggling like a lot of other industries. So they're not wanting to open this until they can get offshore, income is coming in as well, because
get a full capacity, basically.
Exactly, because this is going to be their big swinging park, because this is a milestone for them. And if this works, then the way that they're going to expand and their plans, it's going to be a retro gamers absolute dream holiday, I can assure you.
It basically just looks like a level off Mario 3D,
yeah exactly.
It is like I'm sure my wife, because we always, that's the game we go to, the multiplayer, but it's just immense. And like you said about the restaurants, Luigi's one, I think I saw the pictures of.
And you're sitting on the toadstools and stuff like that, man. It's so cool. Wicked. The mushrooms, again, it's just perfect for it. Like, and it's what it should be. And it's nice because even Disney, I know I have my little cynical ways about it, but it's a magical place, right? I remember going on Diamond Coach holidays, as I said before. My mother used to take us in a certain section of our lives, and it was amazing, absolutely great. It
was just weird for me. I went a bit like, because we went on different circumstances. My mum was a teacher, and it was a school trip for their sort of thing. So me and my brother went along with it. But it definitely enjoyable. But it was just a different experience, wasn't it? You've never experienced anything like that before in your life.
Well, that's it.
Different and weird and fun,
Because, say, I feel bad talking about this now, to be honest. But, obviously we're saying that Chad was going to be going out to Disney. And the Star Wars stuff that they're doing out there now, out in America, oh my word. Like, I'm not a huge Star Wars mark, right? But even I was immensely impressed with what I saw there, like what they're doing. And they do the hotel experience kind of thing as well. Have you seen about that?
I've seen a couple of things. And that looks when Chad was looking for stuff as well.
Yeah. Because as soon as I saw that, where you basically, I'm going to butcher the storyline, but you're on a, carrier of sorts, or it's simulated as if you're part of a crew and all this kind of stuff, and it's all role play and everyone is in character the whole time you stay in there, and they let you out to go to the park, but it's like a special thing, so it seems as if you're teleporting rather than just walking out and all this kind of stuff. And it's all as soon as I saw, I was like, oh my god, I hope Chad's going to do this, because he's going to come back with the biggest grin on his face, because it just looks perfect for him. And others that would enjoy it, like I'd go there and I'm sure I'd enjoy, I get with the program as soon as I'm there, but there's some good stuff on our shows as well, man. Like, Thor Park, Alton Towers, they've got some banging rides still. I've still not been to Thor Park since they opened the Saw ride, because I was a big fan of those films. And there's some good Saw rides there in Thor Park by all accounts. They're a bit rough around the edges these days if you listen to reviews, but
yeah, I've never been Oakwood. Obviously, you used to go
Oakwood, classic school trips and such. Oh, love a good Oakwood trip.
I mean, not as quite on scale as Disneyland, but it's still good fun, right? I mean, if you guys want to, who are listening, if you want to check out Oakwood, go for it. It is a good day out.
But, it's a great day out. Obviously, you got to think of it in terms of context of where it is, and obviously Disneyland and the corporate structure behind it, its location. There's more, If you actually look at Oakwood these days, I was quite surprised to see how much stuff is in there, actually. They have expanded a lot since I've been there. They've got actual roller coasters there now, whereas when I went there, Treetops, well, actually, Megaphobia was the creme de la creme. And that is a pretty decent ride.
Was it not the sack slides in Oakwood?
Which
the metal lawn slide, and you just sat in a sack.
Well, there was that big one, yeah, which was that one, yeah, but you couldn't call that a ride, man. It was just a slide.
No, I know, but
I wouldn't say they're putting that front and center on their advertising. Come and ride the big slide. Maybe back in the 1950s.
It got me my adrenaline pumping when I was a kid.
I used to love the toboggan because that was like lethal, man. Like because you were in complete control. Like, can you imagine being let on there as a kid going all the way down, and then you like birds.
You wonder with some of those whether they, how they stay there in those parks with safety.
I think they've made modifications with them now. To be honest, I think with modern days and stuff. But yeah, there's some good stuff on this show because like Air, like I remember going on that before I was a big comic book fan and going, oh my god, this is what it's like being Superman, and then you smell the sick and you're like, ugh. Like,
yeah,
this is what it's like to be Homelander if you just fried someone.
I experienced flying, but with my eyes closed on that one.
Really?
Yeah. I occasionally look and go, no. Close your eyes. Hold on tight. There's just no trust for me in rides, especially when they put you like that, and all you hear is like one click to push you in. I'm like, no, I'm done.
Do you know? I'll be honest with you, right? I have not been to a theme park for. I think the last time I went to something I'd consider a theme park was like Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which was how long ago? Like 8 years ago. So I've not been to anything since. Now, me being a person that likes to overthink things and being in a industry for the last couple of years where health and safety is key and you always look out for stuff, I don't know if my nerves could take going to a theme park, especially, certain theme parks. Like, I don't mind the thought of going to somewhere like Disney, Universal, like all the big hitters. Yeah, you'd like to think you're in safe hands because of the amount of money, but go into like a backyard kind of like, some of these ones you see on YouTube compilation videos, you're like, oh no, don't think I could.
No, definitely not. My view on them.
Yeah. There we are. Right. Let's try and get calm. Let's get from those highs of being in a roller coaster. Let's sit back down. Let's get in the auditorium. We're going to talk streaming, TV, anything we've watched, but I'm going to hand you over to the soothing tones of PC Vita, Mr. Fish.
Soothing, mumbling tones of... No, we've watched a lot this week. Enjoyed a lot as well. Today, for instance, we watched Onwards for the first time.
Okay.
As a family, it came on Disney Plus, I want to say last week. And it was such good fun.
Yeah.
Like, the kids loved it. We were all, we laughed. We got emotional in bits, but really good fun. Recommend family watch or anyone just to pick up and watch it. It's a typical, they hit all the notes, don't they? The Pixar Disney movies.
They always do, and that's why I hate them as well, because I'm like, I know how you're going to make me feel, like the first act, and like at the end of it, I'm going to be like, oh, no, and then going through the middle bit, like you're getting the rise, and it's just Toy Story 3 killed me, and I was an adult. Like, I'm sorry, I can't cry as an adult watching Toy Story 3. I'm not allowed to, and I did. I'm sorry, Rob. It's traumatic for me.
Dude, I guess... Dude, if anything like me, it gets worse when you get older.
It was the hands when they're going towards the furnace. I was like, I'm gone.
You're like I don't because it's the same with the kids. But you have to like Maisie's terrible. She's like at some point she just won't look. When you hit that certain point in the film, like that certain all emotional point or like action scene, we know it's going to be fine.
Yeah,
but she just starts going, no. This isn't happening, and she like misses some of the best bits because she thinks the worst is going to happen.
Yeah, the innocence of a child, man, is great.
But yeah, definitely recommend that. New series of Power Rangers Beast Morphers came out this week on Tuesday.
Awesome.
Only done half a series again, or
a
lot under, which is only 8 episodes, which is a bit annoying.
So just to give like newbies and like people that aren't maybe following the current generation of Power Rangers, what would you say is the distinctive characteristics of this run? What makes them special from other runs?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's why they pay me the
That's
big
a good
bucks.
question. It's
okay, like space had space, and like like the animals with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
They've got animal powers, yeah.
Okay, right.
They've made themselves Power Rangers, this big corporate company, and it's Morphex. So they actually dig and they mine this liquid called Morphex.
Oh, cool.
And then that's where they get the power from.
Mm.
And they've got the villain Evox who's trying to get it, for world domination.
Yeah.
So the typical stories. It's I know I love it, but I know it's complete. It is what it is, Power Rangers, isn't it? It's never going to win an Oscar. It's never.
I don't know. You watch that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, like that stuff. Seriously, the guy playing Ivan News, that man took it to 12 in terms of volume levels of where to play that character.
Considering what it was,
and he was like a Shakespearean proper thespian actor. So I really played the character like this.
Yeah, it was.
He was great.
Paul Freeman.
I'm trying to think now.
That rings a bell. I'm just trying to think. But yeah, I mean, that was the weird thing, I think, when you had that film, then you went back to watching the series.
The production value, really,
They kept coming. The costumes, they obviously had some of the costumes because a few episodes after that. Oh, sorry. It was like set. You never really had to watch.
It was in its own universe, wasn't it? It was like a one-shot comic using the characters you love, in that sense.
They eventually had the ninja costumes then.
Yes,
in the film, and then they had the.
This looks so good. Do you know? Thinking about that film, I need to watch it. Because
we bought it. It was where did we pick it? We picked it randomly, and it was it's got the first movie and then the Turbo movie, which is also good. Yeah, and,
I was still in the target audience for the Turbo movie because it was like the Turbo movie is, I believe, a little bit more child friendly. I'd say personally. And
it's more closer to the TV style.
I'm trying to find the sort of right words to use, but it's more true to the original. Whereas I feel as if that first film, it's got that edge, it's got that and the way it looks as well.
I think how powered up they were, more.
Those suits look so cool in that film. Oh, they look so badass. And the White Ranger suit, man. Tommy gets me every time.
That's the main differences, I think, with when you go back and see the original series, because you obviously have the cuts between the stuff which was filmed in America and then the stuff which was filmed in Japan. And you notice the costume difference definitely in the White Ranger and the Green Ranger. It's so much better in the Japanese one compared to the shield that he wears. It's just like that flimsy sort of material, and then it looks really smart and proper, I'll say, in the Japanese version. But yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's just, I don't mind admitting it. It's such as you're watching. My kids like watching it.
Yeah,
and it's just something you can just you don't have to think at all, really, do you? Watching it. But it's been good. It's been enjoyable. I think we've only watched about 5 episodes.
Really?
So
how many episodes in the series? Do you know?
There should be around about 22. They usually do
nice.
2 specials then. They'll do a Halloween and a Christmas in each series. No matter what, they've always done it.
Nice.
Then this one, there's some crossovers coming.
Okay.
And there's the original Red Ranger going to appear.
Oh, all right.
And then some Dino Charge characters as well. But yeah, it's going to be
cool. All right. Okay. I think... Look, I have not watched Power Rangers for a very long time, right? So, but do you know when I hear about things like that in things that I used to love as a kid, I get intrigued. So you've got my attention.
Especially if you want to see the ones Megaforce, Super Megaforce, they do a massive special where a load of them come back.
All right. So that's already been, so I could pick that up and watch it then, yeah?
It's all on Netflix.
It's all on there,
Netflix.
yeah?
Yeah, I think the recent one, I think it's because I think over here, is it Pop?
Okay, yeah.
Channel called Pop or something like that. I think most of them on that. licensing, but then you get them delayed on Netflix for like the up-to-date ones.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. Like, I was listening to the OG sort of 90s show theme tune today. Like, so good. Like there's no wonder that I love this sort of ridiculous music that I love these days, and I'm influenced like to just write silly stuff. Because
who, you growing up then with the Power Rangers, who did you want to be then?
Oh, Tommy.
As what then? As the white or the green?
Oh, it's got to be the White Ranger. Yeah, like I'm sorry, I know it's on the nose,
but like going back over the years, I quite like. I originally it was always a Red Ranger, and then obviously he turned up, and he's like, "Well, this is different." I want to be that now. But now looking back, I quite like the Red Ranger again.
Yeah, like it was weird, man, because like I was always Tommy, right? Purely because I never liked my name, right? Because my actual name obviously is Thomas, right? But it just doesn't flow right with me. Thomas sounds too like upper middle class, and it's not me. I got a mouth like a bin, so I'm a Tom. But like I always wanted to be Tommy, but like Tommy in the UK just feels as if you've done something wrong all the time. Like if someone calls you, it's like, oh, Tommy, like it's like, oh. So like I always wanted to be Tommy, but like I always I did like Zach and Billy as well, though, equally, like I
rock all the t-shirts.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of them, you wanted to be certain bits of all of them, like
No, it's great stuff, man. I will be checking that out then. You'll have to send me in a message afterwards, and I'll definitely have a good bet.
Stuff, man.
Yeah,
and I suppose another nostalgia trip we did take this week. We watched Mallrats as well. Which I think we've all watched many times. And,
it's underrated, I think.
There's some great bits in that film. Just so and emotional bits. I'm just seeing it's been a while since I've watched something with Stan Lee in. Just that sort of thing, talking about relationships, and even though he got paid to do it or whatever, but it's still a nice.
Kevin Smith always does that though, doesn't he? Like he's got that nice balance of like ridiculousness plus vulgarness plus like heartstrings being pulled.
And just the end, the dating, obviously the dating show at the end, and you have to help me out now, Jason Lee.
Yeah,
the Jason Lee. Just him, like his mouth on that is just amazing.
some good, great stuff, man. Great stuff. Like, so have you been watching some other stuff as well then, as well as Mallrats?
So, series 2 of The Kingdom.
Oh, right, okay.
I've only watched the first 2 episodes of the second series, but it's a South Korean production. I'm going to have a look at my notes for the details.
Yeah.
It's directed by, let me just get him in front of me. It's directed by Kim Sun-hun.
Okay.
It's based on a web series comic by Kim Un-hee and Yan Kun-il. Hopefully that's how I pronounce it.
Okay.
It's set in the Joseon period, which is around about 14th century. So it follows the prince, basically. Prince, I gotta do another name now. Prince Lee Chan. And he's the next in line to the throne, we'll say.
Cool.
And he investigates his father's mysteriously ill, and he's investigating that to start off with.
Yeah.
And things they're all a bit weird. His father, has got a new wife,
right?
Like a much younger wife, and she's pregnant. So in theory, that is also another heir.
Okay.
And there's
drama.
There's some bad stuff going on there, and they're trying to push that. But meanwhile, there's a mysterious illness going around.
Right.
And it's basically like it's a zombie sort of illness.
Okay, cool.
And it's just right. I'm going to do a spoiler for series 2.
Okay, right.
Actually, it's mentioned in series 1, so it's fine. So the whole virus comes from a plant.
Okay.
So it's used on the current emperor, because he dies and they bring him back.
Oh.
But obviously, when they bring him back, he's not all there.
You want guts.
And it stems from him.
Right. Okay.
But then in the second series, they explained it a bit more that it's been used before. That they've used it in battle situations when they've been, say, if there's like 100 versus 500, they've like the previous day they've killed off a load of their men. They've brought them back to life.
Oh, right.
But at the same time, it's just, I know it sounds a bit mad, but it's such a beautiful, like dark, intense, like series, shot amazingly. And I know I said to you about like these hordes of these, like, you know, normal people, you know, just come into it. It's just epic. It's not as if they're just put in.
It's more practical rather than
It's all practical. And it's just amazing.
You always see the benefit though, don't you? You can always tell it's that little 5% extra you get, and it's just so much more.
Yeah, I truly believe in like practical effects, mate. I mean, I do like you know, they're amazing CGI or VFX and stuff like that now. But
yeah.
Practical effects. I mean, there's definitely moments where they, you know, they're putting swords in and the sword isn't really there. Those sort of situations.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is just amazing.
So
it's chaotic.
Yeah.
And then it sort of all of a sudden just brings it down, and you've got this nice sort of sweet music going on in the background, which is like brings you back down and go, okay, we're good for now. And then it's like back up again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I it's not like, I suppose it depends whether you're into sort of subtitled.
I was going to ask actually, like that was going to be my next question.
I mean, I'm not sure myself, so I don't look into it whether they probably have an audio track over it. I would have thought on Netflix now, but I don't tend to do that because a lot of times it's missed, like translations missed, and it doesn't feel the same. The tone.
I was going to ask you, like, what do you feel in terms of that type of stuff? Do you feel just, you know, get with a program, learn to read along, and, you know, get with it?
I suppose really, like years growing up, like, and like, you know, when I first got my wife, there were certain movies that you could only get in dubbed. And unfortunately, they just sound funny, whether it's a serious content or not.
Yeah, it always feels a bit funky, I feel like. It always feels like it's something off.
Yeah, my wife always just used to laugh. And she goes, I can't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I think, and sometimes, yeah, it's definitely, the translation is lost, or they rewrite it. So sometimes the script is different, especially in anime. I think they rewrite the script a bit so it fits more in what they do. But no, it's I probably haven't done it justice, but it's a very enjoyable TV series.
Okay.
And something different for people as well. It's a different zombie type feel.
So season 1 is on there as well, yeah, for me to catch up on whatnot.
Season 1 is completely on, and then I think it was only managed. I think we've done about, because they're an hour episodes they are, but it's
okay, cool.
I think quite recently the second series came on. And I think they're already going for series 3. So
it's always nice to hear that, actually, especially with these days as well. So it's always good.
There's loads of good stuff coming out of South Korea. So many good films as well.
Yeah, like it's something I need to explore more of, to be honest with you. You know, the world cinema stuff, because there's some fabulous stuff out there. Like I you know, even when you see some of the Corridor Crews sort of analysis of world cinema special effects and stuff, I just go, I want to see that in context.
Especially the Bollywood stuff.
But like some of that stuff is legitimately insane. Like, and then some of it is like comedically insane.
Oh, like the Terminator on like 1,000%. Those sort of films, like just amazing.
Yeah. You've been watching Hero Academy as well, yeah?
Yeah, I'm behind on that really, because I think it. Although the story is I got it this February for my birthday, because I've been after it.
Awesome.
I thought I'd give it a go. It's, you know, it's supposed to be good. It's by the same company, or do the animation called Bones, which they do like Full Metal Alchemist, which I love. They did One Piece and a couple of others, but you know, they're spot on what they do. And yeah, I sat down this week and watched it, because there's only 13 episodes and they're 20-minute sort of things. And I will say the good thing, have you watched any anime?
I've watched bits and bobs, right? And I've got a couple of things that I've bought that I haven't got around to yet. For instance, did you ever used to watch Dragon Ball?
Yes. Or anything like that?
So, like, this is what I was going to say, right? It took me years to work out that Dragon Ball was dubbed. Like, 'cause, and also, I had this friend in school, right? And I think back, it was so devious what he used to do, right? But at the same time, I think it was really, really cool. So he obviously knew. I used to watch Dragon Ball Z because that was my starting point. I never knew that there was Dragon Ball and then Dragon Ball GT. And subsequently, at the time that I was watching it, I didn't know that all of this was already all out because it was like years old. And because I'm watching a Cartoon Network era in sort of 2002 onwards, maybe. So when I had a friend in school that was always like, oh, you're never going to guess what's going to happen next. I know it because I got a friend. Like, right? And I'm like, how's he got a friend? But ultimately, basically, you know, it's like older brother seen this all in dubs or whatever and sort of, you know, shown him it all, but we're getting it because we jumped on the hype. But yeah, Dragon Ball.
It came out mid-90s, I think. The anime, I think.
Yeah, so like Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, what else have I seen that I've watched? Like I know it doesn't count, but like Batman Ninja, like I guess that counts, like ish.
Well, I think I was trying to, you know, with Dragon Ball, for instance, there's obviously certain episodes which could easily be condensed down to one.
What you mean, like whole series where they're just talking to, like, me and my brother have so many conversations about that. You need to get him. It's a
classic thing to do.
Yeah.
Naruto did it as well, you know.
Yeah.
But with this, it doesn't. I think that's the good thing.
Okay,
you know?
that's cool.
It's 13 episodes.
Yeah.
It's set in sort of like it's a superhero world. Okay.
Right.
So everyone is pretty much most of the population has some sort of supernatural gift. They call it like a quirk.
Okay, cool.
And it usually starts when they're about 4 or 5. So you follow a kid, Izuki Midora, or Midori.
Okay, cool.
It's Deku, they also call him. So he's at an age now where he's like, I'd say about 14, 15.
Okay.
And he hasn't. But he's obviously you're already rooting for him anyway. He's the underdog, you know. Bullied, all that sort of stuff, but he's got a good heart.
Yeah.
And he's got that true hero spirit.
That's what we like. And
there's a situation where he proves himself in front of one of his mentors, basically the number one superhero in the world, called All Might. And he learns a secret, which I'm not going to go too delve into about there's a couple of secrets, but he says that his power, he inherited it. So I've deemed you worthy.
Oh.
So he's going to inherit his power. And he has to basically go through this training regime so his power his body can be strong enough. And then it'll slowly go into him. And then as his power fades, the kid's power will go up. Yeah. But he eventually then he applies to this hero academy where his mentor is one of the teachers, and they're going through loads of tests. But there's some really good scenes where he can't deal with all the power, so he can either go from, at the moment, like nothing to like 100%.
Right. Okay.
When he first hits it, they're in this training scenario, and this is massive, like Godzilla-sized robot, and he just punches it, and it batters the robot, but he breaks all of his arm and all that sort of stuff. And then he starts to go, right, okay, I'll have to just do certain things. So he has to throw a ball, and he puts all his energy just into the tip of his finger to throw it as far as he can, but he breaks his finger. But it's just like little stages where he's just trying to control himself.
It sounds very similar to kind of like some of the stuff and themes and the way they present it in like Dragon Ball Z and stuff back in the day with like Gohan kind of training and kind of some of the stuff he used to do where, you know, all like Trunks, where it was like all or nothing, you know, it was like, you know,
definitely.
My God, crying baby in the corner, and then all of a sudden it's like,
I think if you write anything like this, you're always going to take something from Dragon Ball, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
And it ends in a battle. They're basically training, but then it gets invaded by villains, and then they have a massive experience. You know, but it's like I said, it's good fun. It's passionate. You know we were talking about the boys when we saw that. That fight where you're like there with them. you feel like that with him when he's in the battle. He's like, please, come on, let it work this time. Let him be able to do what he wants to do. Yeah. So it's such good fun. And I don't know what's going on with the Blu-ray, but
okay.
I don't know all the information about it, but I went on Amazon and series 2, 3, and 4 are all being released on October the 27th.
Oh, cool.
I don't know what I've missed there.
Okay.
Maybe someone can tell me, but which I'm happy about. I'll put them on my Christmas list, and I can blast them. But yeah, it's been such a. I will go back and read the manga.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out, man. I got a lot of stuff because I was gonna say like the only thing I remember buying like on Amazon. I've got this one anime called Redline. It's called. That's good, yeah.
Oh, dude, visually,
is that a good choice for me to have picked something to have bought?
Dude, it's such a good film.
Yeah, because I saw.
I could do a whole separate thing on that.
So yeah, that's cool then. Because like I saw a trailer, and I was like, "Yep, this looks good." Yeah,
it's all hand animated as well, isn't it? That
it looks a bit mental. Yeah. So when I saw, I was like, "Okay, yeah," and I just haven't got around to watching it yet. You know, so.
Yeah. Watch it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. There we are. Well, that's another little side off podcast for me to do. Then let's get into the Let's Play because we've got a bit of a retrotastic feel to this. Rob.
Yeah, Kitana Zero.
Yeah.
Just
where did you find this then?
Just on. You know when you have the updates of what's coming on to Xbox Gold or Game Pass. And it popped up, and I've seen the sort of the advertisement before.
The graphic.
It was on. I think it's been on Nintendo Switch as well.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Even though I think the company that makes them like a Microsoft, they make the games for Microsoft games. But yeah, it's a 2D action platformer where you're sort of this katana, wielding badass.
Yeah.
And it's weird. You got no health bar. So it's one hit and you're dead.
Is it? Okay. I didn't know that.
So it's one hit, you're dead. You can obviously slash, roll, which you basically can't be hit if you roll.
Okay, it's like an evade thing then, yeah.
And then you've got, what is it? You can deflect bullets with your sword. And then you've got time control, where you can just slow down.
Yeah.
And what happens if you die? Then you go back to the start of the level.
Okay, right. Okay.
So it's, what I love about it, it's frustrating, right? It really is. But it still makes you go, like you're going, I'm doing this. I'm doing it. And that's what games have always been about for me. So amazing. And it's got, he's like, I think he called Subject Zero. And then at the start of the game, it basically said 10 days to go. And then on each level, it counts down. But after you finish each level, you go to bed. You have green tea. You have to have green tea before you go to sleep.
Okay.
And then you have these like nightmares.
Right.
And then you wake up in the morning and go to a psychiatrist. And you have a chat with him. And then he gives you some drugs.
Right.
Which you find out then that your abilities come from, like, you used to be in the war, but your time warping thing is these drugs.
Right. Okay. Cool. So it's like a bit like Prince of Persia style, like kind of aspect in terms of the time mopping and stuff. Is it or what?
Yeah. Yeah. But having like a drug in your system instead of the sands of time. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then each dream, after each stage, you sort of unlock a bit more of it.
Okay, so cool. Right.
Let's become different characters.
Right.
And then, I've got to a point now where you're finding out things about the company you work for. They're hiding stuff about you and they're telling you not to speak to certain people.
Okay.
Then, you go to the psychiatrist. He gives you the drugs. Then he gives you a dossier of what your next mission is. Then you burn the dossier and then you go off and do your mission. And it's just, it's great, man. I've been dancing in nightclubs, like hiding from gunmen in the shadows and then jumping out. I've done like Indiana Jones and like a cable car, and it's just there's been some great stuff, and the music as well, man. It's really good. Yeah,
just everything about it, like because as you were saying, it's like so small, like it's such a small game with like a lot of detail, like within that art style put into it,
Oh yeah, I came in last night. We were having we had a takeaway. I spoke to you.
Yeah.
I said to him, remind me to download it. So I downloaded it on my PC and I wanted to put it on the Xbox. And she goes, download it. And like you said, a minute or so, I don't know. It didn't take long at all. But I played on it for about a good hour or so today.
Yeah.
And it's such a good game.
I've got it downloaded. I need to get playing it at some point this week now. Because it does.
Yeah, I highly recommend. It's such good fun. I mean, not for kids. There's plenty of, especially in the dialogue. There's plenty of information there which children shouldn't be reading.
Yes.
It just takes me back, and to like the whole frustration bit.
Yeah,
of just like going, I don't know. I wish I'll have to find if there is a death counter on there. So I've died plenty. But it's good because once you've completed it, like that one, it feels very good.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of completion of it. Like, the good old days.
After each level, then it gives you sort of a black and white then replay of your whole.
Oh, cool.
Thing. But yes, it's a good one.
Wicked. No, I'm going to get on that, man, because, it makes use of the subscription and everything, doesn't it? Like, so let's get on to our final section, Kryptonite Delights. We'll start off. I don't know how much you know about this anyway, but I've seen a lot of different, like, YouTube accounts, people that talk within the pop culture, discourse, everything, talking about the Intellivision retro console that's looking like it's coming out next year now. I've shown you a couple of bits. I sent through some little bits from you. What was your initial opinions, like thoughts, what you think a bit, because it's got a price tag of around £250 for the starter pack.
They didn't put in that trailer that I watched. They put an affordable price bracket. Yes. And I went, do you know what? That looks really nice. I'll have a look and see how much. And I looked at it, I went, I couldn't justify. I mean, do you know what? I think it's a great idea. What they're
Wicked.
Doing.
Yeah, really cool.
The games, all right, they may look dated to some people, but they look good fun. I'd quite like the Fusion Frenzy games they did on the Xbox, just simple games where you can just have fun together. And that's what it looks like. But to add that to like our collection, I mean, in our house, we've got obviously we got the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox, which we, as a family all play. But another £250 for that, and it's only and two controllers.
Yeah.
And for what it's offering, you just can't justify it.
It's so difficult, especially at the moment. And I think a lot of like the issues that people have at the moment is there's a lot of choice, and with the price brackets of the modern day consoles and everything, that's what the problem that people are having justifying with it. Because with what else is coming out and the level of graphics, everyone sees graphics as a level of quality, but this is a very different market that this Intellivision Amiga is going for, right? I just came across it. I was looking at it. Now, I'm probably not the target audience for this, right? I'm not the type of person that goes out and buys very, particular consoles that aren't maybe made for the mass market, especially when it comes to like add-ons and stuff. Because I know you guys have always gone, oh, do you remember that add-on for like the Sega Genesis back in the day and like the N64 add-on and all this kind of stuff? I've never been one of those people that's done it, right? So, I feel that this is catering for that level of fan that has that nostalgic want to play those games that are clearly being designed with the retro aesthetic and sonic capabilities, playability. Everything is of that retro feel. And you're getting stuff that's catered for that as well. And I think a lot of it as well, and I don't know if you'll agree with me here, Rob, like that controller layer is very unique by the looks of things. So I think
you assume where you're looking at it, you've got that screen and you've got that circular sort of thing, which I'm guessing is your touch or move thing. Maybe it's a pointer.
That's it. I haven't seen a huge amount with that kind of stuff, and I don't know how much is out there. Like something I'm going to look at, because I think a lot of the time, and this is something we've spoken about before, that I feel that when you look at a game, especially in trailers when it's coming out, it may look amazing or it may look really poor. But I think a lot of the time, it's that feeling of playing it with that controller and that specific grip and that specific thumbstick or however it's meant to be played. Now, when you're looking at these games that are in the trailers and stuff for the Intellivision, they look, as some people or like young people would say, oh, they're simple or the graphics aren't amazing. Now, with those movements may feel like really intuitive when you've got the little ways of playing it with a specific controller. You know, it's the same as playing GoldenEye, but playing it via an emulator instead of using an N64 with an N64 controller. If you're using a PS3 style controller playing GoldenEye, it just doesn't feel the same.
No, you need the C buttons.
Yeah, and you need it to be played in its, desired and, designed method of form, play in. So, like, I think it looks cool for the market it's catering for. I feel like the people that are bitching and whinging about it aren't the people that are arguably going to be playing it. No,
I got no problem. I think for me it was just the price. If you had options, there's no. I know there's no need for one, but there's no Blu-ray player. There's no those sort of things with it. I'd love to have one, but just.
Yeah, because it's £250 we're looking, or $250, I believe, something along those lines, and then about $10 to $15 per game, I believe. But I think you get a certain amount of games included in that first package.
Yeah, I think it was six or seven premium games. I think it was. Yeah.
So no, I'm gonna watch this space because I am intrigued to see how things are, because like I think it's getting a lot of unfair nuclear heat amongst the gamer community, to use a wrestling term.
Just why say anything then, isn't it? If you don't like it, just go away.
Well,
I don't get it. If you haven't got anything nice to say.
I think it's one of those things, because like it is what it is. It is what it is. But anyway, we're going to talk about something more divisive now. I'm an Apple user, so I get excited when Apple, release some new products via their event. So over the last couple of days, Apple did their sort of big event, unveiling their new iPhone lineup and their new Apple HomePod Mini. Now, Rob, obviously this probably doesn't really get your juices flowing, because last time I checked, you're not a silly person like me that has fully bought into the Apple ecosystem.
No, I mean, look, I can't judge because I've had an iPad at one point, but I haven't experienced Apple whatsoever.
Yeah.
And when I do, so my wife now has a work phone which is Apple.
Right. Yeah.
It seems foreign to me because you don't know what you're doing, do you? Because it's a completely different setup.
It's totally different language, visual language.
That's my whole thing. Yeah, I've been Android for a long time, and I've been Samsung, and I've got no problem with it. I've always it's easy to use. And with Apple, I think I've only been on an Apple PC I think twice in my life.
Yeah.
So but like you shared it. I was actually looking at we must get the same news feeds, where we just click on.
Yeah.
So I did catch a little bit of their live event.
Yeah.
A spectacular live event in their, like we said, their I don't know what it is, their base, their lair.
Yeah, their lair.
It's epic, that place. What, Apple Park, isn't it? Sorry, yeah.
It's like where it's basically, if they want somewhere to film where the Legion of Doom would be, I think that would be a really good place to film. Not with the contents, like the way it looks, obviously. It's spectacular.
So with the phone then, I mean, it looks impressive.
Yeah. So like basically, you've got 4 different versions of what they are calling the iPhone 12. You've got the iPhone 12, iPhone 12 mini, the 12 Pro, and the 12 Pro Max, right? Now, ultimately, you've got 2 different phones, and then those 2 different phones come in 2 different sizes, which gives you the 4, right? So you got your 12 and your 12 mini, which are ultimately the same, gubbins underneath, the same cameras. You've got your iPhone 12, which is a 6.1 OLED display. All of these are 5G, by the way, as well. That's a big thing. Not so much in the UK at the moment, because we're not really catered for it at the moment, especially around with us. We still got hamsters running the broadband in some places in Wales. So,
it's not too bad. I mean, Cardiff is not too bad, is it? I suppose. With 4G,
it's not
5G.
too bad. Yeah. But 5G, I haven't experienced it because obviously I'm on iPhone. But, all these new iPhones are on 5G. The iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 mini, they've both got a double camera setup, the wide and the ultra wide, 12 megapixel, which, in terms of values, there are other better options in terms of the camera quality on other, Android or, Windows-based phones, whatever, Google, Pixel, all that kind of stuff. But there's some new technology and there's some new kind of pre-picture processing that's going to be happening in these new ones. And especially on the Pro and the Pro Max, which kind of...
It annoys me when they do stuff like that, though. I mean, like Samsung do it as well. But
yeah.
Like, the product... You can have that, or you can have this one.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be an apologist, right? But ultimately, I think the stuff that makes the Pro and the Pro Max that much more expensive, whilst they may not warrant the price increase, the features that are available, people like me would probably go, "Oh, I need that though. I definitely need that." And it's the bigger one. So, obviously my family are watching this going with eager eyes going, right, we know now which one he's going to go for by what he's saying here. And if he's going for one of these, we know he's had an iPhone before he really should. So, I'm not going to be getting an iPhone anytime soon. I'm just going to be presenting the information, as we said. So, with the iPhone 12 mini anyway, right? With the iPhone 12 and 12 mini, they both come in 64, 128 and 256 gigabyte storage, right? You're used to being able to do expandable storage, probably. We're not. We're kept to the standards. But I never fill my iPhone X, right? I've got an iPhone 10. I never fill it. I think I got 256 in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I filled 100 gig, maybe, right? So, and that's being generous when I've been using loads of music with my Apple Music. So the Apple Mini, right, it's a little bit smaller, just to go through it quickly. 5.4 OLED display, 5.4 inch, right? It's the same camera, same set of stuff as the iPhone 12. Now, iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max. So the Pro, you got 6.1 inches, okay? The Pro Max and the Pro, 3 camera system. So you got the wide, ultra wide, and then a telephoto, which gives you the 2x zoom. And they've got all these wondrous new kind of sensors and technology, wondrous things happening underneath. So the big selling point, they got the LiDAR sensor, right? Which is this super duper thing that they're pushing that is going to make for better augmented reality, faster autofocus in low light, It's going to be interesting. I think a lot of developers are going to be able to use that for augmented reality games. And I think ultimately, on a smaller scale, I think it'll give people a better experience of that type of stuff. But in terms of professional uses, it can be used in terms of getting scans of rooms for applications to, plan productions and that kind of stuff out as well. But, the focus here really is better pictures, better video, bigger screens, and ultimately more storage, right? Because Apple's big selling point, and I'll be honest, I was convinced, and I'm not a video guy really, as you can see. The Pro and the Pro Max, from what I can gather, they both shoot in Dolby Vision HDR, which ultimately converts to 4K at 60 frames per second. 60 frames per second. Yeah. 60 frames per second on a phone, which is pretty cool, I think.
Definitely.
And the way with the image processing and stuff that it does, the footage that they showed, I was pretty convinced, that looked like a DSLR camera being used and all. I know there's lots of trickery you can use, but ultimately they were saying it was all being processed on the phone and it was all being edited on the phone. So, it's really cool for content creators. It's opening out a new, avenue of stuff there, as you can with anything now. You can use your your phone as your webcam, and your picture would be amazing if you got anything from a phone of the last 3-4 years. So I think Apple are targeting a certain market there, and I think it's very interesting.
Their phone a bit bigger as well, you know.
Finally,
a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the thing as well. I forgot to say is obviously they're a little bit bigger. You know, over 6 inches. So you got a bit more length with them as well. So yeah, it's interesting stuff. I'm convinced by the Dolby Vision HDR, to be honest. And they're, yeah.
I think that's what, I mean, whether it's repeat customers or not, but if you think like the core workings of it, but then I think most people are, you know, screen, camera, you know, those sort of basic things on there go, okay, that's improved. I'll do it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And like for me now, you know, I was on an iPhone 10. I'm not going to be doing it anytime soon. This is looking like next year, middle of the year, that type of stuff for me personally. But like I've waited enough for the jump to be warranting it, and also my camera is buggered on my phone as well. Now I dropped it.
I recently, I say recently, 2-year contracts or whatever. So I didn't upgrade mine in theory for 4 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a recent jump, and it's quite nice then, because it is quite a big jump these days, isn't it? Leaving it that long.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
From, like, a 7 edge to a 10.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just like out of a difference.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting with the price brackets as well. The iPhone 12, $799, the iPhone Mini, $699. The 12 Pro is $999, and then I think the Pro Max is $1099. So
it's not even surprising anymore, though, is it? Those sort of prices.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, when you think about it, you got a mini computer in your bloody pocket now, and you pay for the badge. So you know, if you're in the Apple ecosystem, you know, the HomePod Mini looks very, very cool as well. Just to finish off, I had the original HomePod, absolutely phenomenal sounding speaker. A lot of people see it as the dumbest smart speaker in the market because it can't really do a huge amount, the original HomePod.
Right, okay. Why is that? Just because of
limitations of Siri, a lot of people say, and the way that they approached the sort of ecosystem within there more than anything. But in terms of an actual speaker, best smart speaker on the market.
Right.
Like
okay.
the original HomePod, for me, like incredible sounding speaker. Like on its own, you don't even have to pair it with another one. But if you paired the two of them together, like in stereo, using one as left side and one as the right side, earth shattering, because you've got like your sub in the middle, which pushes everything to underneath, and then it comes out. And then you've got 7 tweeters around, so you've got like 360 sound.
How big are they then?
Like, so the original HomePod, you're talking about sort of 7 inches or so. So it's not humongous, but like, you know, I've heard people go, that's tiny. It's never going to do anything. Turn it on. Like, great sounding speakers. But the new one, slightly different form factor, a little bit smaller, 3.5 inches, about 3 inches, 3.5 inches they're going for. It's kind of
more near like the sort of the Echo sort of size.
So that's their kind of competitor market, I believe. But again, I think Apple, obviously people haven't had hands on because of the nature of the press and everything that's been going on at the moment for it. You know, they weren't able to get all the press there to have a hands on because of the social distancing and everything. So like, I think they're going to go with the same mentality of making it the best speaker in its price bracket. So this new HomePod Mini, the original was really expensive for what it was. It was like 300 quid almost, like 279. This new one, 99 it's going in as. So it's still more expensive than, you know,
most going out.
Than the Amazon and the thing, Amazon and Google equivalents. But I think, again, this is completely off nothing because I haven't heard it. But if they're going off the same technology as the original HomePod and kind of making it a little bit different, because I know it's not a complex of a system in terms of how they're producing the sound in the speaker and the number of speakers in there. But I think it's going to be a great sounding speaker if they're going off the technology of the previous one, just because it's a really good piece of kit.
Can anyone use it?
I think, I don't know if it's via AirPlay. I think it might be Apple specific. Again, I think the whole purpose of it is that you're in the Siri ecosystem.
Right. Okay.
That's the only problem with the Apple
it as
product.
like a nice speaker.
I don't know. I'll have to double check because I think with the original one, I know when I first bought it, it was AirPlay only. There's no Bluetooth in it. So,
right.
So yeah, that would be only Apple only, the original. So I think we've had a good chat, Rob. We've got there in the end. Where can people find you, dude?
Peace Kavita on Instagram.
Yeah.
Come and check me out.
And I'm sure they will. We are on, Twitter, Instagram, Chalk of Hour. Like and subscribe on Instagram, and also like and subscribe here on the Chalk of Hour YouTube video. I'm Neon Tinted Tom. I'm on Twitter. You'll see me interacting now and again. And hopefully we'll be back to a couple of things. Well, an extra man or person next week. Diolch yn fawr. Noswaith dda.